So thank you guys for joining us tonight. We have Spike Moss in the building. A lot of y'all know him, and if you don't tonight, you will get to understand him a little more in the work he do here in our community. You know, we have a lot of history that haven't been told or has been watered down, but we got the man here tonight to give it to us and let us know what's going on and how we got to where we are. So we're gonna kick that off by letting him introduce himself.
Well, my name is Spike Moss. I was born in a town called Paris, Missouri, north east corner of Missouri. And I was born in what was called Jim Crow. And in Jim Crow, you could not come to that door, walk inside and be seated in this restaurant. The signs at the door would say white only. It didn't matter if it was a movie show, it didn't matter if it was the hospital, public school, blacks were not allowed. Even though our parents were forced to pay taxes, you were not allowed in a public school. The nearest hospital that would accept my family was 170 miles away. So a good 30% of my mother's relatives died on the journey to get to the hospital. You're too far for an ambulance to come, and on the journey to try to get there, they might lose you in the car. My mother had 3 kids before me, and without the assistance of a hospital or anybody who does prenatal care or a doctor. So my oldest 3 siblings all died. I was the first to make it. My father's name was Wilbert Harry, my mother's name was Irma Jean. So they named me Harry Jean because I was their miracle baby. I was the first to survive being born on my grandfather's kitchen table. So it was different for me from the beginning because what is normal for you was never normal for me. We couldn't go to the city park. We couldn't swim in the city swimming pool. And even though the public school was across the street, our kids was across the street in the garage. When the buses went out to the white community, picked up the children and dropped them off at school, they would come back, park outside, and then you use the garage for the black kids, all ages, all grades, one teacher. So I thank God that my mother brought me to Minnesota, and I got to see things from a different perspective. But by going home every summer, I would experience Jim Crow again. Even the carnival in my generation would come to town, but the 7th day was the black day, and the merry-go-round and the swing was the only one that would let us ride. So we never experienced all the rides either. At the drive-in, we were in a field to the right side of the drive-in. We weren't allowed to come inside. And they had a giant blowhorn on a wooden chair for sound, and we watched the movie from a sideways position. Even there, they use the N-word, all the N-words you want for 50 cents over there in that field. So my whole experience kind of developed my attitude. So growing up in Minnesota, I think they thought because you had more job opportunities, you would have more freedom. However, unlike the South that said what we can and cannot do, they never voted for that. But in Minnesota, they voted for a legal covenant that said where black people had to live. So most black people, you go south of Glenwood Avenue, down by Bassett Creek, that was your neighborhood. That's where you were allowed to live. And when they were finally allowed to cross Ocean Highway, it was because the federal government built the projects. The projects had a park in the middle called Sumner Field. The law said blacks live on the east side, whites live on the west side, no mixing. I was also with the first group of boys when I was a teenager to literally walk on Plymouth Avenue. You didn't walk on Plymouth Avenue. I was with the first group of kids who were able to go to North Commons, but not without a serious fight. They used to have a teenage dance every Thursday night, and we physically fought to go to that teenage dance. So we were the first to go to that too. But the things that I learned, it was all about discrimination, pain, shame, and hurt and embarrassment to black people. And when I was a young teenager, we were downtown at the Aquatine Parade, and watching that parade was the day that changed my life forever. We were watching the parade, and they were pushing the people back on the curb, and a young black girl accidentally got pushed off the curb. She turned around to get back up on the curb. The policeman said, "I thought I told you people to back up," and he started beating her with a billy club. We didn't know then. We found out the next day the girl in the hospital was 14 years old. She was a little frail girl. We knew it was a child, so we fought back. That was the first rebellion in North Minneapolis. It spread from Nicollet Avenue downtown, all the way down Washington Avenue, all the way to Plymouth, where we fought till about 2:30 in the morning. We were still fighting. That incident brought the first mayor into the black community, Art Nafrin, and we met in a park down there, Oak Park. And that's where we seen the first mayor ever in our community. And one of the things that was asked, what do you young people want? And we said we want a place of our own where we can be together, where we can do the things we want to do. And they gave us a building called Fishing Unlimited on Plymouth. And we got together, a bunch of kids, and we did the labor. And the professional people, they laid the bricks, we did the paint. And we remodeled that building. And a childhood friend of mine named Clarence Benford Jr., he named it The Way. And he said the way out, the way to a new day, the way to a change of life. And we started that program. Everything that I learned at the Wheatley, I did it at the Way. I did football, I did boxing, I did basketball, I did track. We put in pool tables, ping pong tables. We put in jukeboxes. We had teenage dances. And we were moving forward, but the kids kept complaining about what they couldn't do because they were black. And we decided to start fighting for our human rights and our civil rights. So we did marches and protests for the right to do everything you do now. We fought for our right to be police officers, firefighters, school teachers, principals. We fought for a new North and a new Franklin, which you have. We fought to ride the bus, drive the bus. We fought for the right to be at Hennepin County Hospital. There was nothing that you can think of that people do today that we were allowed to do. All these things were denied black people. And that was the beginning of my fight for our civil and human rights.